Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the Japanese island of Hokkaido. On the southern part of the island is Mount Daisengen. It is only around 3,500 feet high and is the location of our episode today. This mountainous area is shaded by forests of Sakhalin Fir, Sakhalin Spruce, Japanese oak, birch, and painted maple trees. The island of Hokkaido is home to several unique species found nowhere else on Earth. Sika deer and wild boar are common here, but the giant salamander, Ezo Flying Squirrel, Tanuki, and the Amami Rabbit are Hokkaido exclusives. The predators here include the Ezo red fox, Tanuki, weasels, and brown bears. An alarming trend has been developing on the island over the last few years, which has reached its climax. Government policy on bear management has been successful in increasing bear numbers. Habitat recovery is also progressing as people leave rural areas for more lucrative jobs in the cities. This leaves the agricultural buffer around cities vacant of humans and their activities. Without regular contact with people, brown bears here have become emboldened and have started to attack people like they've never before. On October 29, 2022, 22-year-old college student Kanado Yanaki was driving to Mount Daisengen for a hike. He was a fourth-year student at Hokkaido University in Fukushima and was studying fisheries management. Kanado enjoyed hiking and mountain climbing. He was intelligent and adventurous, loving anything outside. Kanado loaded his gear and boarded his vehicle for the 45-minute drive to the parking lot at the trailhead on Mount Daisengen. The winding road rises from the coastal highway at sea level to just below the peak at 3,500 feet high. Each bend in the road represented an ever-improving view of the forest eventually giving way to the ocean. Upon arriving at the trailhead, Kanado parked his car and headed up the trail toward the peak, but he was not seen again after leaving his home. Earlier in the summer of 2022, 54-year-old fisherman Toshihiro Nishikawa was fishing for Sakhalin taimen in Lake Shimoronai in the northern part of the island. Taimen are similar to North American steelhead, but are much larger. They can reach 6 feet in length and weigh 100 pounds. They're trophy fish valued around the world. Nishikawa was dropped off to fish alone by a fishing guide he had contracted to help him on his fishing trip. As the fishing guide piloted his boat away, he observed a brown bear near the location. He reached out to Nishikawa by way of radio, but was unsuccessful in contacting him. Deciding the bear likely wouldn't be a problem, he piloted his boat out of the area to leave Nishikawa in peace to fish. A few hours later, the fishing guide returned to pick up Nishikawa, but couldn't raise him on the radio. Searchers were sent to the lake and found his severed head submerged in the water. A short distance away, a brown bear was observed chewing on his waders. A search for his body was unsuccessful. Local police organized a bear hunt and killed a brown bear, but weren't sure if it was the bear that killed Nishikawa. Authorities issued public warnings to citizens who were planning on venturing into the forests. On October 31, 2022, just a few days after Kanado disappeared, 3 firefighters were out for a hike on Mount Daisengen. They climbed about halfway up the mountain when they decided to sit down and rest. While they were resting, a brown bear emerged from the brush and began attacking the men. The bear first knocked one of the firefighters down and began to bite him furiously. When one of his friends tried to intervene, the bear immediately pounced on the second firefighter, biting and clawing him as well. As it menaced the rest of the men, one of the firefighters pulled out a knife he'd been packing. The bear began to close in on him, and he slashed at the bear, striking it in the neck. His swipe with his knife severed a major artery and sent the bear fleeing while spraying blood from the neck wound. The firefighters made their way back down the mountain and reported the aggressive brown bear to authorities. This brazen attack by the brown bear sparked an intensive search for its body. They weren't positive it had died, but based on its reported injuries, thought it may have succumbed to them. As searchers climbed Mount Daisengen slopes, they found a dead brown bear. It was about the same size as the bear that attacked the firemen, but didn't have a knife wound in its neck. They found a second bear of a much smaller size nearby, also dead. After canvassing the area, they stumbled upon Kanado's body. The 22-year-old had been savaged by a brown bear and partially eaten. The bear had cached his body under dirt and sticks, to be consumed later. Forensic crews gathered Kanado's corpse and the carcasses of the two bears. They also took evidence from the attack site for analysis. Kanado's cause of death was declared to be due to blood loss from the hundreds of wounds inflicted by the brown bear. His death was not fast, and may have taken hours before his passing. The scientists examined the larger bear and found it to have no major injuries. They were most interested in finding a knife wound in its neck, but when they searched its carcass, they couldn't find one. The contents of its stomach were examined, and it was determined to have consumed Kanado's flesh. The smaller bear was not found to have ingested flesh from Kanado's corpse, but its cause of death was not listed in any source I could find. With all the evidence and analysis, authorities had some difficulty in making sense of it all. Was the larger bear the same bear that had attacked the firefighters and had killed and eaten Kanado? Or had that bear and its cub been killed by a larger bear that had ambushed the firefighters after killing and eating Kanado? After putting the puzzle together, the most likely scenario emerged. The larger bear must have attacked and killed Kanado, afterward caching his body for food. Then the sow and her cub came to feed off Kanado's remains. It must have killed the sow and cub in defense of Kanado's corpse as its food cache. It was most likely the same bear that had ambushed the firefighters, and had likely died elsewhere after suffering the grievous knife wound to its neck. Searchers never found the carcass of the big bear with the knife wound to his neck, but it is assumed that the wound ultimately led to his death. Since April 2022, 160 injuries and 3 human deaths have occurred in Hokkaido. Kanado's death was the first human fatality to bear attack in over a decade in all of Japan. This rapid increase in attacks is attributed to a dwindling food supply and human populations fleeing agricultural areas around cities. Authorities in Japan have become so desperate to stop bear attacks that they have turned to technology for a solution. They've started using monster wolves. These huge robot wolves have glowing red eyes and sound a howl that reaches 90 decibels. Monster wolves are stationed near known bear traffic areas. They view the monster wolves as a form of scarecrow to frighten the bears away. There are an estimated 6,500 to 10,000 brown bears on the island of Hokkaido alone. These bears are unique as they are darker in color than other brown bears and have a longer skull and lower slope in their forehead. They can stand 7.5 feet in height and weigh up to 1,100 pounds. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Do you think the agricultural areas now being vacated are bringing brown bears closer to cities on Hokkaido? What is emboldening brown bears to attack humans in Japan? Is the lack of management of brown bear numbers leading to overpopulation and increasing attacks on humans? Do you think robot wolves are a great idea to deter bears? I will be glad to read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.